All right, so let's make sure we get right tackle in here. So all right, I'll kick this off. First team, probably the easiest pick of the whole unit here. Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson. I mean, kind of a similar conversation to Creed. Kind of funny that they're both Oklahoma guys. They just don't lose. Lane, 0 sacks this year. He's charted for 6 pressures this year.
It's more like
Whereas
2 or 3.
yeah, you watch them and it's like, yeah, two, I would say.
Yeah.
Whereas charted wise, Panay Sewell's charted with 25 pressures. Now you watch him, it isn't 25, I don't think, but it's at least double, if not triple, of what Lane has done this year. Now Panay obviously is a very special run blocker, but Lane is a really dang good run blocker too.
Yeah.
So I think second team is actually a conversation, but Lane for me is hands down first.
Yeah, Lane, same with me. And I think so. 2 is interesting because Panay has given up some pressures this year, and I think he's got 1 or 2 sacks he's given up. And
I think it's one. Yeah.
yep,
To Bosa.
yep. And then a couple of pressures to Daniil Hunter, but then I think you broke that game down as
I
well.
did.
He had a really good bounce back in the second half against Hunter. But
Yep.
needless to say, he's gotten beat, and again, Lane just doesn't get beat. So I think you can make the case for sure Panay at second, but then I think there's 2 more names that you've got to mention, and for me, whether you put them kind of as a second team or a combination of third team, but I think what Joe Alt has done as a rookie has been very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Just you see it there, and it's going to continue to get better. Moving into a new position, still kind of looks a little awkward on the right side from time to time with how he sets, but just so technically sound. You see elbows tight, hands inside, head shoot back. You see a guy that's almost 6'9" that plays with great leverage. I think he's a guy that we're going to talk about here really soon. Challenging for being first team All Pro. He did have some losses early on in the year. He's had a couple of pressures, some speed to powers and QB hits, but I mean, just an outstanding rookie campaign. And then Spencer Brown is another guy, and I know you're about to
Dude.
talk about him, but I
Yeah.
think that Spencer Brown's maturation and what he's done, for Buffalo, I think that Coach Cromer has been really good for him. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, man. I'm probably gonna go so Panay second, and then third, it's same with me. It's either Alt or Spencer Brown. I'm probably gonna give the edge to Spencer here. Honestly, I just think a little bit more consistent pass protection. Alt has given up 6 sacks this year.
Yep.
At least charted, and you watch the film, almost all of those are clean. Except one of them, I think, and I think it just can be attributed to what you said. A couple times, maybe once or twice a game, it just looks a little awkward for him
It does. His
in
set
terms of
points are weird.
yeah, and it gets him in trouble a little bit. Whereas Spencer Brown has been playing the position longer, and he's just more experienced, and I think that is a big part of why he is at the point where he is, just being a little bit more consistent in pass protection.
Yep.
But he's taken, just really since Coach Cromer got there in 22, it's just been an upward trajectory to the point now where I think he's without question a top 5 right tackle in the league. And, I think he's the third best right tackle in the league this year. So it's just been really cool. Another guy who's about 6'9", like Joe Walt, who plays
Yep.
with really good leverage, very good athlete, elite level athlete, I think. And I love his style as well. He's going to mix it up a little bit more than Alt, whereas Alt's kind of machine-like.
Yep.
Spencer Brown's more of kind of a wild card in
Shoot from the
terms
hip.
of, yeah, and I really like that, and it's worked out well for him this year.
Can you imagine?
So
Can you imagine Northern Iowa coming out and your 2 tackles are fucking Penning and Spencer Brown
dude, oh my gosh,
with
those guys
Jared
are
Penning at left guard?
dude, those guys are giants.
Dude, no.
They're
It's just
oh yeah, that's incredible that they were able to put that unit on the field at Northern Iowa.
I
That's
know.
pretty special. But it's been cool to see Spencer work out the way that he has, and I think it's a huge testament to coaching as well as to him. But Coach Cromer, major shout out there, and hopefully we see a similar sort of trajectory with Trevor Penning. But that's kind of another topic for another time. But
Yeah.
yeah, so third team, who would you pick there between Alt and Brown? Who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with Joe Alt. I'm gonna go with Joe
Okay,
Alt. I think
Alt.
that again, Spencer Brown, um, for all the reasons you are, but like kind of the
Run game
different.
for Alt, maybe.
What was that?
Run game for Alt, maybe a
The
little bit.
run game for Alt. He's a difference maker,
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
also, quite frankly, Alt has played with like three different right guards, and
That's a really good point.
I think that's that's an important piece to it. I
It
think that
is.
what
Yep.
he's done with, three. I think it's three. It's been three. There's Pipkins. There's been Montpasser, and there's been Sawyer. I think even
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think maybe even Foster Sarrell has played some right guard a little bit as well. But
Yeah. It's been a revolving door there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's a great point.
that's kind of, I look at that. I look at the run game. I look at the context of how many guys he's played next to, and then his technique is just like it's textbook stuff.
Yeah.
So
It
when
is.
I'm
It
looking
is.
at, I always try to find a differentiator
Yep.
uh, to some of this stuff when we start talking third team and stuff like that. And to me, it's just that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I just, like I said, I like that shoot from the hip approach from Spencer, mixing up sets, mixing up hands, and going to get guys with, a firm outside strike and jolting guys' heads back and that sort of stuff. So and it hasn't bit him, very much this year at all. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, either way, that's a fun conversation. Two really good young players. So it's cool to see right tackle kind of get that injection of youth because I think we've really needed it on the right side as well. So
I
that's
agree.
that's pretty cool to see.
Because what's
Yeah.
funny is like, here's another thing. There was a wave at one point where there was three names that you would talk about, at right tackle. Lane, Mitch Schwartz, and Ryan Ramczyk.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch is retired. Ramczyk is retired. Lane's still there, and now it's Lane and the young guys. So
Yep.
it's just, I mean,
Changing in the guard.
it's changing of the guard, but Lane's playing his best football, man.
I know.
it,
Yeah,
it's just he's
he's
playing his
not
best
going
football,
anywhere.
man. And I think legitimately we got to start talking about him legitimately being a Hall of Fame guy.
Oh, no question.
And here's the thing: he's always been a Hall of Fame guy in my book. There was some talk though because of the early suspensions early on in his career
Yep.
that he would never get in. But I think that like
Dude.
his dominant has been so dominant now for so long that you gotta you can't, his contributions to the game now, being a partner of mine with the O-line masterminds and wanting to see the well-being, to me those are all things that continue to add to his legacy and make him Hall of Fame worthy.
And I think last thing that I'll say too about Lane is, he's the closest thing that we've seen at tackle to Joe Thomas. I think,
With
as Joe Thomas,
consistency.
like just consistency, just doesn't lose in pass protection. That dominance that it looks the same every time against no matter who he's going against. He's the right tackle version of Joe in a lot of respects, in my
what's,
opinion.
what's crazy is the disrespect that he hasn't gotten more first team all pros.
Oh yeah, he isn't talked about enough. I saw he just retweet. He like got interviewed by NFL Network today or what yesterday. But like that's cool. Like he needs more of that because, dude, I mean he's on a good team too. There's no excuse. Whereas Joe, it's like okay, Cleveland's irrelevant every year, but he's on a great team. He's won a Super Bowl. Like yeah, he needs to be talked about more based on what the film looks like because there's such a separation from him and his peers that, I mean, it's kind of a shame that he's not getting more love.
It's a pretty large gap, man. It's a pretty large gap, to be
Yeah,
honest with you. I mean, again,
it is.
I said this last year and I said this earlier in the year, like Panay's time is coming, where
Oh
he's
yeah,
gonna be, but like when you look at the difference between Lane and the rest of the bunch, man, it's not even close.
Nope.
Like I think Lane is the best offensive tackle in the NFL. It doesn't matter
Yes.
the size. And this year, he's the best offensive lineman in football. Period. In my opinion, last year I thought that Lane was the best tackle in football. I thought he was better than even Trent Williams, but I thought Zach Martin was still the best offensive lineman in football. And this year, it's Lane for both the best tackle and the best offensive lineman in football.